Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday, the 27th of October, 2021, and we've just had the October 2021 budget delivered by Rishi Sunak, and it's the second budget that we've had this year. I'm joined by my two colleagues, Brian King.
Hello.
And Karen Keeling.
Hi.
Maybe somewhat of an underwhelming budget. There's been all sorts of leaks and advance announcements over the last couple of weeks. So really, we were wondering what was going to be in store for us. Starting with you, Brian, what were your takeaway points from today's budget?
Well, as you mentioned, there was a number of leaks in the last few weeks. So last night and this morning, when I was reading some of the press coverage of this budget, there was lots of narrative on changes to capital gains tax, inheritance tax, and pensions. I wasn't clear whether there was some leaks or whether it was speculation. On capital gains tax, there was comments that rates would be brought in line with income tax rates, comments that there would be further restrictions on capital gains tax reliefs for entrepreneurs, as well as annual exemption being reduced. Thankfully, there were no changes to capital gains tax, so we stay where we are.
There was also an announcement a couple of weeks ago to do with social care.
That's right. So in September, there was an announcement, perhaps it was just getting bad news out of the way before the budget, that there would be a health and social care levy, an increase in national insurance and dividend tax from April 2022. There is a 1.25% increase, and for people who are in receipt of dividends, there will be a 1.25% increase in the dividend tax rates from 2022.
But the interesting thing there, Karen, is when we get into remuneration planning, this is just another little twist. And there's some other nice little things they've pre-announced, haven't they, to do with corporation tax?
Yeah, that's right. And that's another thing that we need to factor in. So luckily in the budget, there wasn't any further announcements on corporation tax rates. So the current rate is 19%, and that is due to go up to 25% from April 2023. So there is a small profits rate of 19%, and that's for taxable profits under £50,000. And where your profits fall between £50,000 and £250,000, we've got what's called the marginal rate. Anything above that £250,000 profit will be taxed at 25%. Yes, we're seeing some old concepts come back here with the marginal tax relief. And as you'll know, when your profits do fall into that marginal band, it's quite a high rate, and that rate is 26.5%.
Ryan and I will remember that well from our days with our previous firm when we worked together, when there were some horrendous marginal rate calculations for corporation tax. But that degree of complexity and the high marginal rate between 50 and 250, I think it is,
yes,
that then means that other things such as the super deduction that was announced in the March budget, that becomes quite a useful planning tool, doesn't it, at the margin to get profits down?
Yes, it certainly does. It does indeed. And another thing that you need to take into account, and another concept that we've come across in the past, is the associated company. Because obviously those marginal rate bands and all those tax bands get divided between the number of not only group companies, but associated companies. So again, that's slightly more complicated than the group company structure.
Companies may be able to take advantage of investing in assets on which they get the annual investment allowance.
That's right. The big announcement there in the budget was that the limit for the annual investment allowance is currently £1 million, and that was due to be reduced to £200,000 at the end of this year. A lot of our clients will be very happy that this has now been extended through to the end of March 2023.
So Karen, overall then, what's your take on the announcements today?
Well, it was quite clearly predominantly a spending review. And when you look at the budget announcement that's been made, it's a 200-page document, of which 5 just relate to taxes. So you can see there's not an awful lot of change.
Brian?
There was speculation that inheritance tax would be changed. The main issues that could be restricted is business property relief and agricultural property relief. Thankfully, there was no changes for those, and linked with the generous rates of annual investment allowance that Karen mentioned, I think some of our farming clients will be quite pleased that the high cost of their farming equipment can get 100% relief in the year of expenditure. An annual favourite in the budget speculation is that their tax relief on pension contributions will be reduced so that individuals only get tax relief at the basic rate. Yet again, plenty of speculation, but nothing within the budget document. So again, that is a huge and significant relief for all the people making pension contributions.
And Karen?
Yeah, on research and development was the other thing that they mentioned on the corporation tax side. So there's a couple of tweaks to the relief that's going to come in from April 2023. And the first one of those is that they're going to extend the category of allowable costs to include cloud computing and data costs. So that will extend what you can actually make your claim on. And the other area that they are going to tighten up on is, they think there's a little bit of tax slippage here, is that they're going to limit the relief for R&D activities that are carried out within the UK.
Yeah, because that was an interesting statistic that the Chancellor came up with.
The tax relief given on R&D is about £46 billion for each tax year, and I think about 26 billion of this relates to expenditure in the UK.
So the inference is that people have been including costs in R&D claims where those are costs incurred outside of the UK. So effectively just leaking tax benefits out from this country.
Following the budget, there was some news on the revenue site that they have extended the capital gains tax reporting deadline from 30 days to 60 days. And this is something that we are heavily involved in.
Certainly, the tax team will be very pleased of that extension on that deadline, because 30 days isn't an awful lot of time from completion date to be able to, talk to your client about setting up their personal tax account with HMRC, obtaining a capital gains return, and then authorising you as agent to be able to file on their behalf, as well as calculate the amount of taxes due to be paid. So yeah, we're really pleased with that, and that's a sensible approach from HMRC and the government.
Is that just on residential capital gain?
Only residential
reportable residential gains.
Yeah, I think despite the leaks in advance and the annoyance that Lindsay Hoyle, the speaker, portrayed the other day at the advance warnings and advance leaks from Rishi Sunak, it was another polished performance. I think it's more about what he didn't say than he did say, because what he didn't say means that pre-announced stuff is all there, and it's the things that didn't change rather than the things that did. So,
if you think about how much we get involved in capital gains tax, inheritance tax and pension planning, to keep it as it is a bit of a good result for us, because they're all areas in which we can save clients tax, and it really means something to them.
But for those of us watching it and then listening afterwards to Rachel Reeves, the shadow Labour Chancellor, who was standing in for Keir Starmer, who's absent because he tested positive for COVID, she made really quite an impassioned response, which set a completely different tone.
Yeah, I mean, she described it as a cost of living crisis, which I thought summed up their position on this.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Brian and Karen. There'll be lots of coverage and our usual budget guidance on the Dafferns website, so check out dafferns.com. But with that, thank you, Brian, thank you, Karen, and see you all for the next budget. Cheers then.
Bye.